The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home from the office, the wipers of my Volvo working overtime. I'm Bertram, 44, an architect in Seattle. Life, until recently, had been good. My wife Blythe and I had been married for 18 years. We had a comfortable life, a beautiful house overlooking Puget Sound, and 2 kids, both in college. Blythe worked as a marketing manager for a local tech company. She was always ambitious, driven, and I thought happy. We'd met in college, 2 bright-eyed students with dreams of conquering the world. We'd built a life together, brick by brick, or in my case, blueprint by blueprint. But lately things had felt off. Blythe had been distant, working late, and strangely secretive with her phone. I chalked it up to stress at work. Big projects, tight deadlines, I'd been there myself. That night as I walked into the house, the scent of lilies filled the air. Blythe loved lilies. She'd put them in a vase on the kitchen counter. "Hey, honey, I'm home," I called out. "In the living room," she replied, her voice a little too cheerful. I found her sitting on the sofa, a glass of wine in her hand. She was dressed in a silk robe, her hair perfectly coiffed. "Long day?" I asked, leaning down to kiss her. She turned her head slightly, the kiss landing awkwardly on her cheek. "You could say that," she said, taking a sip of her wine. I shrugged it off and headed to the kitchen to grab a beer. As I opened the refrigerator, I noticed something odd on the counter. It was Blythe's phone, face down. She was usually glued to that thing. Curiosity, or perhaps a deeper, more unsettling feeling, got the better of me. I picked it up. No password, strange. She always had a password. I swiped up and went straight to her messages. My heart began to pound in my chest. I knew I shouldn't be doing this, but I couldn't stop myself. The messages were from someone named Jasper. My blood ran cold as I scrolled through them. They were intimate, flirty, explicit. "Can't wait to see you tonight," one message read. "Thinking about your touch all day." Another, "This has been the best week of my life. I never knew I could feel this way." My hands started to shake, my vision blurred. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Blythe, my Blythe, cheating on me. I slammed the phone down on the counter, the sound echoing in the otherwise silent house. I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself. I needed to confront her, but I needed to do it calmly. I walked back into the living room, my face probably ashen. Blythe looked up at me, a flicker of concern in her eyes. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I held up her phone. "Who is Jasper?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Her eyes widened. The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. I can explain," she finally stammered, her voice trembling. "Explain what, Blythe?" "Explain how you've been betraying me for God knows how long. Explain how you've been lying to my face every single day." Tears welled up in her eyes. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice cracking. "Oh, really? Because it looks an awful lot like you're having an affair, Blythe, with some guy named Jasper, who, by the way, seems to be quite smitten with you." She stood up, her hands shaking. "It just happened," she said, her voice barely audible. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened." I repeated, my voice rising. "Are you serious? You just accidentally fell into bed with another man? Is that what you're telling me?" She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Bertram. I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did hurt me, Blythe. You shattered everything I thought we had, everything we built together. How could you do this to me, to us?" She sank back down onto the sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. I stood there frozen, staring at the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, the woman who had just ripped my heart out of my chest. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice cold and hard. "Tell me everything." She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. He's a colleague at work, Jasper. He's my boss." My blood boiled. Her boss. This was even worse than I imagined. "How long has this been going on?" "A few months," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "It started as just flirting. And then it escalated. I know it was wrong, Bertram. I'm so sorry. A few months. A few months of lies, deceit, and betrayal. A few months of me thinking everything was fine while she was sneaking around behind my back." "Get out," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Get out of my house." "Bertram, please," she begged, reaching for my hand. "Don't do this. We can work through this, I promise." I pulled my hand away. "There is nothing to work through, Blythe. You broke us. You destroyed everything. Now get out." She stood up, her face streaked with tears. "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care," I said, my voice cold. "Just go." She grabbed her purse and keys and walked out the door, leaving me standing there alone in the house we had built together, the house that now felt like a prison. The next few weeks were a blur. I barely ate, barely slept. I went through the motions at work, but I was a shell of my former self. The pain was unbearable, a constant ache in my chest. I hired a lawyer and the divorce proceedings began. Blythe moved into an apartment downtown. I refused to see her, to speak to her. I couldn't bear the sight of her face. My friends tried to be supportive, but I pushed them away. I didn't want their pity. I didn't want their advice. I just wanted to be left alone to wallow in my misery. One evening, a few weeks after Blythe had moved out, I received a phone call. It was from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer it, but something told me I should. "Hello," I said, my voice hoarse. "Is this Bertram?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, it is. Who's this?" "My name is Rowena. I need to talk to you about Blythe." My heart skipped a beat. "What about Blythe?" I asked, my voice sharp. "I know about the affair," Rowena said. "I know about Jasper." "Who are you?" I repeated, my voice trembling. I'm Jasper's wife." I was stunned into silence. Jasper's wife. This was getting more and more complicated. "I found out about the affair a few weeks ago," Rowena continued. "It's been devastating, but I also found out something else, something you need to know." "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Jasper, he's not who you think he is," Rowena said. "He's a con artist. He's been using Blythe. He's been using me. He's been using everyone he can get his hands on." My mind raced. A con artist? What was she talking about? "What do you mean?" I asked. "He's been embezzling money from the company," Rowena said. "He's been using his position to manipulate people, to take advantage of them. He's a sociopath, Bertram. He doesn't care about anyone but himself." I was speechless. This was beyond anything I could have imagined. Blythe hadn't just had an affair, she'd been involved with a criminal. "I have proof," Rowena said. "I have documents, emails, everything. I'm going to the police, but I wanted you to know. I wanted you to understand what kind of man your wife was involved with." We talked for another hour, Rowena explaining everything she knew about Jasper's schemes. The more she talked, the more I realized how naive I had been, how blind I had been to the truth. Blythe hadn't just cheated on me, she'd been manipulated by a master manipulator. She'd been a pawn in his game. The next day, Rowena went to the police. Jasper was arrested and charged with embezzlement, fraud, and a host of other crimes. The company launched an internal investigation, and Blythe was fired for her involvement in the scandal. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a strange mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, but also a flicker of pity for Blythe. She had been a victim too, in her own way. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. I got the house, and Blythe got a small settlement. She moved to another city, hoping to start over. I never saw her again. Rowena and I stayed in touch. We bonded over our shared experience, our shared betrayal. We found solace in each other's company, a sense of understanding that no one else could provide. One day, Rowena called me and asked if I wanted to go for a walk in Discovery Park. I agreed, and we met at the entrance. As we walked along the trails, talking about our lives, our hopes, and our fears, I realized that something was changing. I was starting to feel something more than just friendship. Rowena was beautiful, intelligent, and kind. She had a strength that I admired, a resilience that inspired me, and she understood me in a way that no one else ever had. We stopped at a viewpoint overlooking the Puget Sound. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. "Bertram," Rowena said, turning to face me, "I have been wanting to say something for a while now." I looked into her eyes, and I knew what she was going to say. "I think I'm falling in love with you," she said, her voice soft. I smiled. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Rowena." We kissed, the kiss filled with a tenderness and a hope that I hadn't felt in years. Life is funny, isn't it? Just when you think you've hit rock bottom, just when you think you'll never be happy again, something unexpected happens. Something beautiful. I found love again in the most unlikely of places. I found happiness again after the darkest of times. And I learned that sometimes the greatest betrayals can lead to the greatest blessings. My story is one of betrayal, but also one of resilience and hope. It's a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable pain, it's possible to find love again, to find happiness again, to find a new beginning. Thank you for listening.